Before recorded history, before the pyramids, before civilization as we know it, there was a warning that came from the heavens themselves. What you're about to hear is not just an ancient tale. It's a documented event found in Genesis, a divine judgment so severe that only 8 people survived. 8 souls, floating on an endless ocean, watching the world drown beneath them. This is the story of Noah's Ark. Our story begins in a world we can barely imagine. Genesis chapter 6 opens with a chilling statement. When men began to multiply on the surface of the ground and daughters were born to them, God's sons saw that men's daughters were beautiful, and they took any that they wanted for themselves as wives. Genesis chapter 6 verses 1 and 2. From these unions came the Nephilim, described as the mighty men of old, men of renown. Who were these beings? The Nephilim were in the earth in those days, and also after that, when God's sons came in to men's daughters and had children with them. Those were the mighty men who were of old, men of renown. The Lord saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of man's heart was continually evil. The Lord was sorry that he made man on the earth, and it grieved him in his heart. Genesis chapter 6 verses 4, 5 and 6. The passage speaks of the sons of God and the daughters of men. Scholars have debated this for millennia. Who were these beings? What was happening on earth that required total annihilation? In those days, wickedness wasn't just common, it was universal. Every inclination of the human heart was only evil continually. Imagine that, a world so far gone that even thoughts themselves had become weapons of darkness. Think about that. Not some people, not most people, every single person's thoughts were consumed by wickedness, except one. The Lord said, I will destroy man whom I have created from the surface of the ground, man, along with animals, creeping things, and birds of the sky, for I am sorry that I have made them. But Noah found favor in the Lord's eyes. Genesis chapter 6, verses 7 and 8. In the world drowning in moral decay, this one man stood alone. His name was Noah. The text describes him with 3 specific words: righteous, blameless among the people of his time, and a man who walked with God. Then came the message. God spoke to Noah directly, and what he revealed was terrifying. God said to Noah, I will bring an end to all flesh, for the earth is filled with violence through them. Behold, I will destroy them and the earth. Make a ship of gopher wood. You shall make rooms in the ship, and shall seal it inside and outside with pitch. This is how you shall make it. The length of the ship shall be 300 cubits. You shall make a roof in the ship, and you shall finish it to a cubit upward. You shall set the door of the ship in its side. You shall make it with lower, second, and third levels. Even I will bring the flood of waters on this earth to destroy all flesh having the breath of life from under the sky. Everything that is in the earth will die. Genesis chapter 6. Verses 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17. But God offered a way out, an ark, and he didn't just tell Noah to build a boat, he gave him exact specifications. 300 cubits long, 50 cubits wide, 30 cubits high. What's incredible is that naval architects who've studied these proportions have discovered something remarkable. These exact dimensions create a ship with near-perfect stability. It's almost impossible to capsize, and here's the part that defies logic. Noah was commanded to build this enormous structure far from any body of water. 15, 16, and 17. But here's what's truly mysterious. Noah didn't question it. For 120 years, he constructed this vessel while his neighbors watched, mocked, and ignored the warning. 120 years. That's how long God waited, how long Noah hammered and sawed and preached. But the text tells us something haunting. Nobody listened, nobody believed. You shall come into the ship, you, your sons, your wife, and your sons' wives with you. Genesis chapter 6 verse 18. Nobody except Noah and his family. Then something inexplicable happened. Genesis 7 tells us that animals came to Noah. He didn't have to hunt or trap them. They came to him. 2 of every kind, and 7 pairs of the clean animals, creatures that should have been natural enemies, walking side by side toward a single wooden structure. What instinct drove them across mountains, rivers, and valleys? Noah was 600 years old when the floodwaters came on earth, and here's what makes this even more mysterious. The text says, "The Lord shut him in." The door wasn't closed by human hands. God himself sealed that ark. For 7 days they waited. Noah, his wife, their 3 sons and their wives inside with the animals. Can you imagine those 7 days? The silence, the uncertainty, the last chance for anyone outside to believe. Then, on the 17th day, in the 600th year of Noah's life, in the 2nd month, on the 17th day of the month, on that day all the fountains of the great deep burst open, and the sky's windows opened. It rained on the earth 40 days and 40 nights. Genesis chapter 7, verses 11 and 12, the deluge continued. But it didn't stop there. The waters rose and kept rising, until even the highest mountains, every mountain under the entire sky, were covered by at least 15 cubits of water. That's over 20 feet. Everything that breathed, everything that walked on dry land, perished, except for 8 people, floating on an endless dark ocean, surrounded by death, alone. What followed was something the text barely touches on, but we can only imagine. Absolute, devastating silence. For 150 days, 5 months, the ark floated. No land, no rescue, no certainty the water would ever recede. Just faith that the God who sent the flood would also end it. The waters continually receded from the earth. After the end of 150 days, the waters receded. Genesis chapter 8, verse 3. Think about Noah's family. Did they wonder if everyone they ever knew was gone? Did they hear the groaning of the ark and fear it might break apart? Genesis chapter 8 verse 1 tells us that God remembered Noah, all the animals, and all the livestock that were with him in the ship. And God made a wind to pass over the earth. The waters subsided. But here's what's haunting about that phrase. It implies there was a period when it seemed like God had forgotten, when the waters kept rising and nothing was happening. Then, slowly, a wind passed over the earth, and the waters began to recede. The ark came to rest on the mountains of Ararat, but Noah waited. After 40 more days, he opened the window and sent out a raven. It flew back and forth, finding no place to land. Then he sent out a dove. The first time, it returned empty-beaked. 7 days later, he sent it again. This time, it came back with an olive leaf. An olive leaf. Such a small thing, but it meant everything. Life had survived. Plants were growing again. The earth was healing. He waited another 7 days and sent the dove one last time. It never returned. It had found a home. After more than a year inside that wooden vessel, God gave the command, "Go out of the ark, you, your wife, your sons, and your sons' wives' wives with you. Bring out with you every living thing that is with you of all flesh, including birds, livestock, and every creeping thing that creeps on the earth, and be fruitful and multiply on the earth." Genesis chapter 8, verses 16 and 17. The first thing Noah did was build an altar and give thanks. The Lord smelled the pleasant aroma. The Lord said in his heart, "I will not again curse the ground any more for man's sake, because the imagination of man's heart is evil from his youth. I will never again strike every living thing, as I have done. While the earth remains, seed time and harvest and cold and heat and summer and winter and day and night will not cease." Genesis chapter 8, verses 21 and 22. And God made a promise, a covenant. Never again would he destroy all life with a flood. Never again would the earth face such total annihilation. God said, "This is the token of the covenant, which I make between me and you and every living creature that is with you, for perpetual generations. I set my rainbow in the cloud, and it will be a sign of a covenant between me and the earth." Genesis chapter 9, verse 12 and 13. But here's what's fascinating. God gave a sign, a rainbow. God said to Noah, "This is the token of the covenant, which I have established between me and all flesh that is on the earth." Genesis chapter 9, verse 17. But the story doesn't end there. Genesis 9 continues with a darker, more disturbing incident. Noah began to be a farmer and planted a vineyard. He drank of the wine and got drunk. He was uncovered within his tent. Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of his father and told his brothers outside. Genesis chapter 9, verses 20, 21, and 22. Noah awoke from his wine and knew what his youngest son had done to him. He said,
Canaan is cursed. He will be a servant of servants to his brothers. Blessed be the Lord, the God of Shem. Let Canaan be his servant. May God enlarge Japheth. Let him dwell in the tents of Shem. Let Canaan be his servant. Genesis chapter 9, verses 25, 26, and 27.
Why does this unsettling story immediately follow the greatest salvation event in history? Perhaps to remind us of a chilling truth. Even the saved aren't perfect. Even the righteous can fall. The flood destroyed wickedness, but it couldn't erase the capacity for sin from human hearts. According to Genesis, every person alive today descended from those 8 souls. We are all children of the survivors, and if the story is true, then the warning it carries is equally real. The judgment was postponed, not cancelled. The rainbow is a promise, yes, but it's also a reminder that divine patience has limits. The story of Noah's Ark, the flood, isn't just about ancient history. It's about the eternal tension between justice and mercy, warning and grace. The question isn't just, did it happen? The real question is, would we listen if it were happening again? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this journey into the past compelling, please like this video and subscribe for more deep dives into the world's greatest mysteries. Thanks for watching.